I'm Geri Hoerner, and joining me today is Janet Conboy, who is a fellow Bella Vista Garden Club member. And today we're going to be talking about exposing your houseplants. So you'll have to stay tuned to see what we're talking about there. We will also be talking about upcoming events and what to do in your garden in October. So but first I want to thank our two sponsors, the Benton County Master Gardeners and the Bella Vista Garden Club have become our sponsors, and they have joined the Bella Vista Community TV station as directors level, and we just appreciate their support. They've just been wonderful with their information and their support of our show. So thank you for everything. We want to thank them.
Absolutely.
Okay. Upcoming events. We do have an upcoming event that we're really excited about. The Bella Vista Garden Club will be holding their benefit card party again on October 27th, and it will be held at a new location, St. Bernard's Catholic Church off of Lancashire. And it's going to be new times. We're going to be 11 to 4 instead of 12 to 4. So they're extending the time a little bit. So you can play a little more
fun.
More fun. You have more fun. More time to eat.
Yes.
And then, of course, we're going to have our lunch prepared by our members, and everyone loves that because we set such good cooks. And we'll have coffee, tea, and water available. And we're going to have over 40 of the raffle baskets. They've been working on these baskets for months and months, and they're going to be wonderful. And everybody loves those. So, and there's probably a theme for every person you could possibly think that would love. Have you seen any of them yet?
No, not yet, but I can't wait.
It's going to be wonderful. And so this fundraiser, it allows us to fund our scholarships, our Dorothy Wallace scholarships.
That's wonderful.
To the U of A students. Yes. And we just, at our last meeting, we just had our students there for this year.
That's right.
They're so impressive at that young age, and that's our future for horticulture, is these young students. So it's been a great partnership.
The future is bright.
Yes, it is.
As a result of these scholarships.
It is. So, but for more information on that, you can go to the BellaVistaGardenClub.com website. But we're going to be talking about exposing your houseplants, which sounds a little risque.
Yes, it does.
But what we're talking about is what window is, what direction your window is facing and what exposure they're getting to the sun.
And that can always be tricky, especially, we all have, our houses are all configured differently, and, trying to understand how much or how little light is coming through.
That's right.
So I know it took me quite a while, and I have a sunroom, but it's essential to experiment, as you know, Geri, because all light is not the same, and all settings are not the same. So south-facing windows, are really good for things like culinary herbs and a lot of the microgreens that we have.
Right.
And we want to, you can use that for cooking all year round. You don't just have to wait and, till the next year to put them out on your deck. Yeah.
Right. So the micro greens, you can grow those all year.
Oh, I know, isn't it
they're
marvelous?
Wonderful.
And it's the thing that, you have to remember is you want to make sure that you snip off the flowers, because you really want to encourage that leaf growth. You want the energy to be put back into that. So very good opportunity for
the South. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But also, some of your plants could take the South. It depends on the plant. And like I said, you might have to move your plant around a little bit to figure it out.
It does.
And you may not have that south-facing window in your kitchen.
Oh, well, no, that's true.
So.
You may have to think of your herbs as an accessory to the rest of your house.
Right.
I often use the south-facing windows for most of my succulent plants who are, I don't have a west exposure, and so what I have to do is work with the south. And there's some things you have to be really careful with so much direct sun. You don't want the plants to get overheated and scorch. You don't want them to dry out too much. So you have to moderate how much direct sun for how long, and how to water accordingly.
Yeah, because you may not water all your houseplants on the same day
No,
every week.
absolutely.
So you have to, and you can use a water meter to check your plant. And usually if you just put your finger in and the top inch is dry, you know it needs to be watered.
Yes. Now, of course, the deeper the pot, the more you have to pay attention to that. For example, succulents like Christmas cactus or Thanksgiving cactus don't like their feet wet. Don't like, so you only want to water the top couple of inches. So that's something to pay attention to as well.
Every plant has its own needs.
Isn't
That's true.
it? That's the truth.
So,
That's the truth.
but when you bring, we didn't talk about bringing your plants in.
Oh,
The first thing, you have to bring them in from the outside sometimes.
Yes.
So that's the important step. So now is October's the time to be taking them in, and when the temperature is under 50 at night, they need to be brought in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In thinking ahead for bringing the plants in, one of the most important, you want to acclimate them to the indoor temperature and to the temperature shift, just like you do when you take them outside.
Right.
And many of the succulents and house plants can thrive outdoors or indoors, either way, if you just do it slowly and gradually. An hour a day, then 2 hours a day, and so forth.
Just make sure at night you have them in.
Absolutely. And October is the perfect time to do that.
And then when I bring them in, I use the horticulture soap.
Yes.
And you can buy it at the nurseries, or you can make your own.
Oh.
I do 1 or 2 tablespoons of Murphy oil soap in a gallon of water. So that oil in that Murphy's oil soap will help that stick to the leaf. So I spray them, I usually bring them in the garage.
Okay.
And then I spray the tops and I spray under the leaves. And then the soil too. Because one time I brought a little froggy in and I didn't know it until about a couple weeks later I heard a frog.
You had a very clean frog.
Clean frog. But you just have to be sure you're not bringing anything unwanted into the house. So.
And I know it seems like a lot to pay attention to, but really
It's a one-time thing.
it is a one-time thing.
Yeah, it is.
And it's, if you just be a little planful for a couple of weeks during October, easy peasy.
Then you got to settle them into the right location.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Now the north-facing windows, those are great for the begonias and the orchids, and I have one that my window for orchids is like northeast. It's not really true north.
They like the east.
Yeah. Northeast, yeah.
I have in my northern exposure my variegated fig tree and actually a couple of a dracaena and my special jade plant really likes it because it's a slower growing jade plant and it doesn't require as much. So really what you're talking about is experimenting.
Right. Yeah, you have to see where and if they don't like it where they are, they'll let you know.
Oh, absolutely.
So if they don't have enough light, they'll get leggy.
Absolutely.
You just have to pay attention to your plants, what they're telling you. But the ferns and such like the north also.
Well, I'm glad to know that
Yeah.
because I have always worried about the ferns I have, sitting on my front porch, and really wanted to bring them in and help them survive. So that's a great location now that I know that.
So, and then the east facing, my problem is with all my trees, my light is limited even if it's north or south or east west. So I have trees surrounding me everywhere almost, except the west is the front of my house, which I'm not going to have plants,
Yeah.
in
Well,
my foyer usually. So.
The east for me is really where my orchids love to be. And again, I think a lot of it depends on, it's not just what direction the windows face, but also what's outside, what may be shading the area or obstructing
Right.
the light.
And then what you have on your windows.
Exactly.
You could have a sheer curtain on your windows, which would
Yes.
cut down the light and which cut down the sun.
Absolutely.
So those are all elements you have to look at.
And I'm glad you brought up the difference that in exposure that plants like, because, for example, the Christmas cactus and Thanksgiving cactus are among several flowering plants that really require less light for a time. I have mine in my dark TV room, and after they've had some rest and gotten their energy back up in their roots, they'll flower. And I didn't know that for the longest time, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't getting any blooms.
So do you bring them out of the dark like when they set their buds? You let them set their little buds first? I don't have any Christmas cactus, so I'm not familiar with it.
Or Thanksgiving cactus. I think there's an Easter cactus. There's a number of
different
varieties, which, by the way, we will have on sale at the in June.
That's right. We have to talk about
That's
that
right.
too. So anyway, the east facing, I think they said is good for tropicals. East facing, and like I said, that's the window where I have all the trees, so I don't get much light. So my tropicals probably need a little bit more light for me there. But you can do like your elephant's ear, and to make a difference in texture and size, you could use some smaller leaf plants like the Chinese money plant. So, so they're not all the same size or all the same texture. So that gives you a mix of, when you look at your plants in the area.
That's a good idea, because you don't want, at least I don't, I would like to think of my plants as accessorizing my furniture and the whole venue of my house.
That's
and so it's really important to get a good mix of size, leaf structure, flowering versus
color,
non-flowering. Color.
Some of these begonias are very colorful. They're beautiful.
Gosh, yes. And there's so many different types, variegated and ones with spots, angel leaf, dragon wing, and as you said, they love that northern exposure.
Right. And then if you layer them too, you get the larger ones in the back, and then it's like staging.
It is.
Stage.
It is.
And some people have a whole, array of plants, staged like that. You may just have one or two, but it all depends.
You'd be surprised at, how you can group plants, and it doesn't take up as much room as you think indoors. And of course, that is something I had to learn, and I took out my dragonwing begonia, and it quadrupled in size outside.
They do.
So something in terms of bringing your plants back in this October, you may have to divide them.
Yeah, or trim them.
And accommodate the light.
Right. Yeah. So, anyway, the different exposures you just have to experiment with.
Yes.
And then there's also a light meter.
Yes.
That you could use, and
those are about $15 on Amazon, and they're both a moisture meter and a light meter.
Yeah, combined.
Yes, and they're very inexpensive, and I recommend them.
So if you take, look at your window on a normal winter day.
Yes.
And then you look at it like at 8 in the morning and 12 noon and 2 and 4.
Yes.
And just see what that variance is.
Yes.
Per window. Then you can kind of get an idea of what they're going
Excellent
to
idea.
expose to. Yeah.
Yes.
So you can't just do it one time.
Right.
Right. And it's what's a typical day in the winter? You don't know.
Anymore.
It's going to be rain, sun.
That's
shine,
right.
Who knows? But anyway, it's just hit and miss. But houseplants are so important. I think every design catalog I read, they talk about be sure to include, live plants and artificial
they
plants.
clean the air.
They do. They clean your air. So they're very healthy for you.
And they're, in some ways, can make us as happy seeing leaves and living things inside as the outside. So it's a good balance.
Yeah. We love nature around us all the time.
Exactly.
We do. And then if we, once we get them situated in a place they like, then it's just a matter of water.
Yes.
And then how much fertilizing do you do with your houseplants in
Well,
winter?
it really depends on if they're blooming or preparing to bloom, or if they're simply
Just kind of dormant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you go online and check some information, I usually try and fertilize once a month. Now, some plants don't require that, especially some of the succulents from the drier areas of our world. They don't want much water or fertilizer. But once a month is a good good.
And then, of course, your orchids are heavy feeders. So those
absolutely,
would have to be
and heavy on nitrogen because of the blossoms.
Right.
So
So I think that's the rule I've heard for orchids, which I kind of follow.
Well,
is water weekly. Weekly.
I soak yes, I soak mine in a dilute fertilizer for about 20 minutes.
Right. Get that medium soaked real
Yes,
good.
exactly.
And then be sure and drain them well.
Yes.
Yes. But I think we'll probably have a program specifically on orchids next year. So
Can't
I'm
wait to
hoping the
watch.
Orchid Society will come and share their knowledge about orchids. They're so beautiful. Yeah, beautiful orchids. And they're not inexpensive, so once you buy one, you want to take good care of them.
Yes.
So, but anyway, we did want to talk about the upcoming plant sale in the spring
my
and
favorite
house
topic.
plants. Okay. Last year we experimented
Yes.
and we had a lot of house plants for sale. In the past we would have maybe a few of the house plants available, and it just wasn't promoted and people weren't interested. But last year we really emphasized houseplants.
We had a nice
big
selection.
variety.
We did. We had a nice selection. It was probably heavier on the side of succulents and outdoor, but we began to pull in begonias, and we're going to have a huge variety of
And airplane
begonias.
plants, they're just so easy to grow.
And we're going to have babies as well as mature plants, tall plants, and a wide variety of types, both cactus as well as orchids. So we're hoping we had 100 and something plants last year. We're going to easily double that.
Yeah.
So it should be, and you'll get good information from the folks that are staffing that section,
Right.
as you do with the perennials as well.
But and then the website will list a lot of the plants as they become available and put on our list. You can go on the website and see what's available.
Yes.
And orchids, orchids are one thing, but the violets, they're easy to propagate, and we may have a good variety of violets. And violets are so cheerful in the winter.
Oh, aren't they?
They
though?
really are.
They are.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to have several types of Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter cacti, and just variegated begonias, spotted begonias, spider plants, airplane plants, if you will.
Yeah.
There will be just an incredible variety.
Right. So you can start dressing up your house for next
You
winter.
betcha.
Right. And you can even put them outside for the summer too, to
Yes.
dress up your garden.
Yes.
So, well, I'm hoping we got some good information on that. And then things to do in your garden for October. We have annuals and herbs. So the annuals will be fading fast in October, but you just have to, you know, pull them out when they're done. It's hard to do, but you have to pull them out.
And some things will self-seed, like some of your zinnias.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, they will. But then you just also start planting your winter annuals, your pansies and kale and things like that in October.
So pretty.
Yeah.
So pretty.
Yeah.
Now the perennials, you know, who doesn't love mums? And adding more mums to your garden when you need fall color is kind of a tradition.
Yeah.
And very exciting. And then of course, it's a great time to finish planting your perennials. And don't forget, you want to make sure that you've got them covered, mulched with whatever your choice of mulch is, but you don't want to have too thick mulch.
Yeah.
But perennials,
there's
good time to plant.
a little protection for
Absolutely.
the winter. Yeah. And then the bulbs and the iris are best planted in the fall. So there's a large variety. And we're going to have the Bella Vista the Bella Vista daffodil this year for sale. And you'll see more of that in the paper and on our
Good,
website.
good.
So we've ordered more Bella Vista daffodils. So, but you want to plant like in 3 or 5 or 7 in groups like that. So, and you can plant those starting like the end of October all the way to January, basically, your bulbs, you know. So you don't have to get them in all in October, so they'll do well later. So.
Well, that's good. Now, I know we also have the Rose Challenge in October, and that's when you want to stop deadheading them and let them develop those rose hips. And new growth, if you start encouraging new growth, if you continue to deadhead, that's going to really make the plant much more susceptible to freezing, and we want to be careful.
Yeah.
And we also want to make sure that we don't leave the roses too tall or too full, because they'll be subject to breaking or bending too much and
those
losing
winter
some of their
winds,
strength. So
that
we're going
winter
to
wind.
cut them back to about 3 feet tall.
Yeah.
And if you have a rose that's grown that much.
Yeah. So, and then your lawns, it's a good time to apply a pre-emergent and to curl winter weeds. And fescues can be reseeded in September, October. And then you got to keep the fall leaves off. You know, the leaves will smother the grass.
Yes.
So you have to keep the leaves off. And you want the grass to be about 2 inches going into the winter, 2 inches
good to
tall.
know.
Yeah.
Your trees and shrubs, you should start paying attention to those, to plant them. Great time, perfect temperature, and the soil will be in the right condition. And you want to monitor those over the winter months. Monitor the water in particular, because new plants and new shrubs will continue to need water throughout that dormant time.
Right.
And it's also good to check and see what kind of fertilizer is needed or root stimulant to make sure that they get a good
root system.
Exactly.
Spring. You might have to drag those hoses out in the winter if you have a dry winter. I've done that before. I have to drag those hoses out.
Yeah.
If it's really dry. And you've just planted several bushes or trees. So, and the vegetables, well, the end of the year for vegetables, there's not too much going on. I think there's still things producing because the weather's not too bad yet. But you need to plant your garlic in October.
Oh.
And then you harvest that next June.
Okay.
June, July, depending on when they show they need to be pulled. And it's a good time to add the organic matter to your vegetable gardens too. Get them ready for the next year. So, but just be sure and enjoy the fall crisp weather that's coming up. It's going to be a little cooler, after this hot summer. And if you have any other questions about gardening in October, the Benton County Master Gardeners has a great program, a great website. It's bentoncountygardening.org. and is filled with gardening information, and their website just has a lot of information. And their next meeting, they meet the first Tuesday of the month. The next meeting will be November 7th, and they meet at the Bentonville Church of Christ on Northwest 8th Street. And they have a social time like at 5:30 with little snacks people bring in, homemade little goodies. It's just a great little pre-show before the meeting. Meeting starts at 6. And then the meeting program for November is going to be figs, not just Newtons. So it's by Andrea Klokow, and she's doing a fig study with the master gardeners, and they're studying all types of varieties of figs. So it's a good time to taste a fig, maybe. And guests are always welcome to that meeting. So, and the October meeting for the Bella Vista Garden Club is coming up, and that's going to be Wednesday, October 25th, at the Bella Vista Community Church with social time at 9:30 in the morning, and then the meeting starts at 10. And coffee and pastries we have served there. Sometimes little homemade things too.
Tasty,
so that's
yes.
great, yeah. And the program for October is going to be one of our former members, which is Tom Scahan, and he is the owner of Ozark Iris Gardens. Has wonderful iris, just beautiful iris. And he will present May the Luck of the Iris Be With You, which is going to be a good program. And guests are always welcome for that program too. So we always like to have guests come.
Absolutely.
And we like to share our gardening information with them. So, but you can go to the bellavistagardenclub.com website. There's just a ton of information on our website. And just want to thank you for coming today, Janet, and sharing all your information. And I know you have a lot of succulents and a lot of plants, and you know how to grow them. And we'll be seeing them at the plant sale, hopefully.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And I hope you've enjoyed the program, and will join us next month. And until then, don't forget to stop and smell the roses.